we now look at the effects of the Bantu migration on the people of East Africa. The whole group, not specifically the Eastern, Western, Southern Tanganyika or Central. Now the entire stock, the Bantu, which impact they have on the people of East Africa. And of course, when we talk of the people of East Africa, we mean those they found in those areas, the indigenous people they found living in East Africa. The first one is related to population increase. As more and more groups of the Bantu arrived, the population shot up. So this one brought about population pressure in those areas they settled. Number two is the rate of displacement of the indigenous people. Yes, they could not withstand the threats of the Bantu, and we are aware that the Bantu, having possessed the iron tools, they were easy, and they were going to be, they had no problem displacing these people. So the indigenous had to leave, and of course leaving the Bantu to settle in these areas. So the above therefore created insecurity. The above therefore created insecurity because people are always on the move. They are always running up. These running battles created total insecurity in the whole of East Africa. With the continued insecurity, the wars caused famine. Most of the wars were fought in these areas, created famine, which of course was not good news. It was not good music for the original owners of these areas. So the coming of the Bantu brought with it another terrible day where famine became the order of the day. The people they met or they came across adopted the Bantu cultures. So the traditional cultures that were there died, and they adopted the Bantu cultures. Yes, new cultures. In other words, they got absorbed into the Bantu. The same thing applies to the coping of the iron smelting skills or iron making skills. The Bantu came with the iron skills, which skills were now copied by the inhabitants they found in those areas. So that one is also a change that they brought, that the people they found there copied them and also started making use of the iron. They introduced new crops, example yams and cassava. These were crops that were not originally where in East Africa, and so the indigenous started growing them and putting them to be part of their diet. They introduced new languages that were not there, and of course we look at Kikuyu, Kamba, and so many other languages that were not in East Africa. The Bantu led to cultural erosion. Culture erosion, in other words, the cultures that were in East Africa were all eroded, and they got absorbed into those of the what? Of the Bantu. So cultural erosion was another effect. It also led to tribalization. Detribalization, no one was settling because of the continuous wars. There was no tribe, there was no family, there was no clan, and everybody was on his own. So that one brought about detribalization. So there was no sense of identity because of the severe wars created by the Bantu. As a result of the Bantu migration to East Africa, new weapons were introduced. New weapons, fighting weapons. Example, there was the short stabbing spear called a segai, which was introduced by the Ngoni. This was a new innovation because it was not used before. And so this one also came to be part of the livelihood of the people of East Africa. The use of the assegai became common. New fighting ways, for example, cow horn formation by the Ngoni, cow horn formation engulfing the enemy also became commonly known. And many of these rulers Bantu became rulers. They took over. In other words, the people they found lost their political power. Looting, terrorism, raiding, plunder, all those activities. These activities became common because we are aware, for example, the Nguni, they lived on looting, terrorism, and plundering of resources. So this one further increased on the insecurity which had been created during the wars of the Bantu. These are some of the effects of the Bantu migration we can look at today. And with all this, the Bantu were able to settle in East Africa.